Hello and welcome to Arab TV again. I'm Zainab Bayati, and tonight you'll be inspired to know more about environmental issues that touches our lives and mean a lot to the whole world. Food production and water conservation and management. Tonight, our guest is Dr. Ghazi Al-Nakshabandi. He has a PhD in soil physics from Purdue University. He has worked in many research centers like the Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research and the International Atomic Energy Agency. He held many teaching positions in around the world in many universities in Riyadh, Jordan, Kuwait, and he has an affiliation with the University of British Columbia. He's also worked at the American University of Beirut, and he has also published an important book in technologies and water management. Dr. Nakshabandi, marhaban bik, and welcome to the studio. Thank you again for sharing your time, and we have the pleasure to have you, honored to introduce you. What is your opinion about water today? Maybe people will hear it and say, water again. But I know that you are an advocate to water conservation.
Water is a big problem in the whole world because the amount of water available on the whole globe, our planet, is limited. It's about 6% of all water that can be used for agriculture or drinking. So the problem is big when we talk about water, and in my mind I think that the problem of water is more pronounced than the problem of oil, whether we have shortage of oil here and there. Probably we have other substituted by other energy resources, but water you cannot substitute by anything. So water, the problem of water is very important, and in some places like the place where I came from is Vancouver, we have plenty of water, surplus of water. We can export water to others, but in places all over the world, in Australia, places like Nevada, parts of California, in the Middle East, Egypt, Iraq, Iran, if you go up there to Australia, as I said, the drought, of course, they have a lot of drought, and whatever we have of rivers, fresh water, still we are short of water. So the water, and we know that water is people depend on their life on water, because it is used not only for personal consumption, but for agriculture and food production. That is the importance of water.
Okay. So you're. Let's talk about the importance of water in our environment as far as food production is concerned. Is it just for watering?
When we talk about water, we talk about irrigation, and we talk about agriculture.
Okay.
Of course. Now we have principles. Whenever you see a flourishing of irrigation and agriculture, civilization flourish.
You said that.
Yes.
How's that?
Yes. And whenever you get decline of irrigation systems, decline of irrigation system, as I said, decline of agriculture and water resources, you see fall of civilization. And we have a lot of examples from our history.
What is the connection, Dr.
The connection is that civilization, it gives stabilization for people. They get stabilized, they work. When they are stabilized, they are secured, they work, they start to think of their luxurious life, and the luxurious life comes in science and technology. Yes, and we have examples of that now. You remember the history of Egypt and agriculture in Egypt and civilization of Egypt. Started from agriculture. In the Mesopotamia, Babylonia, agriculture. When agriculture flourished, civilization flourished.
Food is provided,
Food
and
is
then
provided.
you have
People,
time
yes,
to
people
work.
are settled. People work. People produce. They are healthy. They start thinking of, of science, of art, of music, of like serious life.
And you're talking about agriculture and connection to water, but that's because you're an advocate, or you mentioned that there is less or reduced importance or focus on agriculture.
Yes. Now, of course, we take an example. We take example of the Middle East, Mesopotamia. At the time of Babylonia, at the time of Hammurabi, Hammurabi built 5 big canals between Tigris and Euphrates. These big canals used to be used for ships, big ships. Now, at that area, and the Mesopotamia in Baghdad, around Baghdad area, the middle part of Iraq nowadays, at the time of Abbasid dynasty, they used to live there 30 million people in agriculture.
Wow.
Of course, on agriculture. Now, at the time of Hammurabi, I said they built these canals and it used for shipping between Tigris and Euphrates. But after that, it was destroyed with time, with time, and also the civilization declined. Babylonian the civilization declined because agriculture declined. The irrigation also projects were declined. At the time of Abbasid dynasty, they started to renew these rivers. They renewed 5 rivers. I have seen myself when we used to be, students at Baghdad University. Our Professor Russell, took us to one of these rivers, big rivers. They call it Big River of Awasi. You just can't see, remainder of the river depression. That was a big river. At the time of Abbasid dynasty, they cleaned it and they used it for irrigation. That's why 30 million people were lived in that valley, in that Mesopotamia between Tigris and Euphrates. Now, not only irrigation and irrigation project would serve to produce food, but also to change climate and environment. You see that between Tigris and Euphrates, or in Nile, around Nile, whenever you have water, agriculture, you see sand is stabilized, you don't have sandstorms, you don't have dust storms. But when these areas, agricultural areas, tend to be bare, without irrigation, without agriculture, then you see what you have of sand movement, sand storm, dust storm, and these storms we know, as you know, also in the Middle East, when you get storm, it goes for 3, 4, 5 days of dark weather. You don't see sun and dusty everywhere. This is because the dust storms.
The book that you wrote,
Yes.
Techniques in Irrigations, what's your idea behind it? How to use water, or how to use technology to...
The book that I wrote, I called it أسس وتقنيات ري وصرف الأراضي الزراعية في الوطن العربي. It is principles and technologies of irrigation and drainage of agricultural lands in the Arab world.
Okay.
And
why is it different than here in the U.S.? Can
no, it is not different, but it is written for a purpose for the Arab world.
The droughtness there?
The droughtness, for people to use, students to use. But also, I should mention that agricultural flourishing in one part of the world affects the rest of the world.
How's that?
When you have a drought in one part of the world, it affects everywhere in the world, the food production. Like in the last, this decade, when we had a lot of droughts in Philippines, in
Somalia now,
in Australia,
in Somalia.
Yes, in Somalia now, in Australia, when they have drought, they don't have water. They are main producer of rice, and you see they couldn't produce rice as might be. And the prices of rice rose up, as you know, for the last 2-3 years because of the drought of the land in Australia. Also in Philippines, They have a drought. They couldn't produce rice because rice depends on a lot of amount of water. It grows underwater, you know. But that's why you get less production of wheat also. When you have drought, you don't have rainfall in different part of the world. You don't have production of wheat. That's why you see the prices of wheat also rose up in the 2-3 years twice. Price of sugar also increased twice, probably 2 folds or 3 folds maybe.
When we were talking earlier, you had this strong feeling that there will be a famine in the world soon, maybe.
Probably,
what
yes.
is this? Where did you get that feeling from, and what is the solution for
Well,
it?
I can see nowadays all governments all over the world, in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, and the Middle East, and the far Asia, and China, they gave importance, big importance to technology of the present. Cell phones, computers, high tech, and they forgot agriculture. Even I can see it. Yes. When I go from Iraq to Kuwait to Saudi Arabia to Egypt to Jordan to here also to University of British Columbia, I see that the School of Agriculture is reduced. The size of the school is reduced. Different departments were merged together. And they even don't call it Department of Food Production. They call it Department of Environmental
Science,
something like that, yes. And under that they teach food production, they teach soils and irrigation, water, and this and that.
And you think that's not important? That's not enough?
No, this is not enough. This is not healthy science, because if so, then people will, and they left agriculture and they went to technology. Now, we can feel that, as I said, from the rise of prices of food products, yes. But I expect that next decade we are going to have hunger all over the world. Now we have hunger in Somalia, we have hunger in Africa and other places, but it's going to spread all over. Probably will sometime, probably next decade, I don't know. You go to the market, you have pocket full of money, but you don't find produce and to buy from the market. Where is the production? Even production of corn in the United States was reduced during the last decade. Nowadays, probably last year and the year before, they started to grow more corn in Indiana and the belt corn in the United States, because they felt it. Not only this, but some countries like Brazil, they are using the food like corn for producing energy, fuel.
Sure.
And this, of course, millions of people can use this corn for their food, daily food.
You were one of the first people who I remember that started solar energy use in Kuwait back in the 80s, maybe, or 70s.
Yes, I participated with that, because they have Department of Solar Energy at Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research, and they used some greenhouses. They call it we called it solar greenhouses. The solar greenhouses where we use photocells, and we produce water, and this water we use it in the same greenhouse. Without getting any water from outside. Also, power can be generated from these photovoltaic cells for cooling and warming of these greenhouses.
Interesting.
And it was good. It's still, I believe that solar energy should be given a good push, because after all, the oil is vanishing. We have to rely on some other energy, and solar energy is very promising, especially in the East. I'm not talking about Germany. Yes, they have in Germany solar energy, in Europe, but especially in the East, in Saudi Arabia,
Middle East.
In the Middle East, they have high intensity of solar radiation. High intensity. It goes, my measurements goes in Kuwait and Iraq and Jordan, goes to up to maybe 600 calories per centimeter square per day, which you don't get it in Germany. Probably in Germany, the best day you get 180, 200 maybe.
But
This
still,
is a big difference.
but still, they're using it extensively in Germany and Spain.
Still, solar energy is spreading in Germany, in China also. But I would think that if the Middle East take that and spread this technology, it would be a great jump.
And hopefully here, when
Hopefully
the price
here,
is reduced
Why
for the
not
solar
in
units and
yes,
stuff.
in the United States, in Canada, and the United States especially, they have also desert like the Middle East, and Arizona, and Texas, Nevada. They can spread these cells, and they use the solar energy for producing water, for producing energy, producing food. When you talk about producing water, that means you are producing food.
Solar energy producing water?
Yes. Solar energy.
Using the
produce
ocean water,
bring water, groundwater, and also from the solar energy they use it for condensating water, and
of the
water
ocean?
is used, and they use.
Okay.
That is different story from the ocean. That's reverse osmosis also. They
I
can use the reverse osmosis for producing water, brackish water that can be used. Also can be used for agriculture, certain level. Even there are institutes here and there in the world. There is the International Institute for Biosaline Agriculture in Dubai. They are using seawater for producing food. When I say seawater, I am not talking about 40,000 parts per million. I am talking about 11, 13,000 parts per million.
What does that mean?
40, like I will make it closer to you. Like drinking water, you drink water at 500 parts per million.
A glass of water, you mean? Or?
No. The content, salt content in that water.
Oh, salt
500 parts
content,
per
okay.
million. But when you talk about brackish water, you use in agriculture like 10,000 parts per million,
Oh, I see.
11,000 parts per million.
Okay.
Seawater, and here in California, like goes up to 34 parts per million. 34 or 28,000 parts per million, but in the Gulf area it goes up to 38 and 40,000 parts per million, especially in summer. Yeah.
I would like you to mention that little story that affected your life until now, and that you written it on in the book, in the introduction, about how you were involved and you are passionate about conserving water. When you were a kid, like 4 years old or 5 years old?
Yeah, I was in the first grade.
Yeah.
In the first grade in school, and my mother used to tell me some stories about prophet stories, and one of the stories that she was talking about the story of Noah and how the world got that flood, the great flood. And then I was passing in the school. I was in the first grade. I was 5 years old.
You walked to school?
Yes, I went to school. My father was a teacher in the same school. I saw one of the taps dripping water. When I went to that tap, I closed it. I couldn't close it. It's still a drip of water. I was so astonished. I said, "Wow, we are going to get a flood like Noah flood." Then I was so fear of that. I even didn't tell my mom or tell the others. I was so shaking because of the flood. We are going to have flood.
It has affected you.
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Yes, of course, at that time. Then after 1 week, and every day when I go to school, from just side of my eye, I look at that tap. I see it dripping. Then I get more scared. After 1 week, I came, I saw there is no dripping. Apparently they repaired it. Then I was so great.
Happy.
I felt happy that God saved this world from flood like Noah flood. Then water and the importance of water engraved in my mind. Yes, I studied about water and management of water.
Interesting. Lessons of childhood.
Yes. Now, when you talk about water, you have sources, of course, of water. We have rivers, like when I talk about the Arab world, I would say that we have about 65 rivers in the Arab world. Among them are Nile, Tigris, Juba River, Euphrates. Some of them are big rivers.
But these are reducing. Do you probably think that this is the reason that the weather is changing in that area, and the food also is changing? Tigris and Euphrates.
No, of course, weather it can be changed by that, because a lot huge areas in Iraq, huge areas in Egypt turn to desertification, turn to be desert, because they left it. People are, as I said, busy in technology. They left agriculture. They went to Cairo. They went to Baghdad. They went to big cities for getting easy money. So easy. They left agriculture. These vast areas became dusty, and when you have wind, you get storms.
Sandstorms.
Of course, sandstorms, dust storms, different. If you look at this table, you see how some of those rivers give a great amount of water, but big amount of this water goes also to the sea, like in Tigris and Euphrates. Nile also, big amount of the river goes into the sea. They don't use it.
Oh, it's not used.
If we are smart, we use this technology that we are talking about, for getting that water and using it for producing more and more food.
Building dams.
Yeah, of course, building dams with whatever. And in Egypt, and then here in the United States, and everywhere, all over the world, in Australia and Philippines. We need it. Technology has to go side by side with agriculture. If we lose agriculture, we are going to lose civilization. We have to concentrate on that.
What do you advise people that are seeing us now to do in their daily lives, to do something for the world and their future?
Well, I can see also from my teaching courses of water and water management in engineering school and agricultural school, that people here in the United States, they use huge amount of water for no reason, personal use. Personally, they open the shower and leave it running for half an hour. This is expensive. I used to tell my students in Kuwait, the first thing I tell them, spare water, don't use a lot of it. They jump, say, no, professor, water is free
cheap
in this country.
I see.
Free. I said, this is not free. The government is paying for it. It's subsidizing 95% of water, and you are just paying 5%. This commodity is very valuable commodity. They are getting water from the sea, desalinated, and they mix
lot of energy.
Energy, of course, and they mix it, in a portion with brackish water. They chlorinate it, then they distribute it to houses for use. So this valuable commodity, we have to spare it. If I can go along with 1 gallon of water, why do I use 2 gallons of water?
Your book is used as text in the Middle East. You think it can be used here as well because of the technologies in it?
Yes, but it is written in Arabic. I remember one of my professors who taught me at Purdue University. He proposed to me, he said, Ghazi, why don't you translate this book to English and make one of these, big companies, Macmillan or the rest of them, publish it.
But is it useful for here?
Yeah, because I discussed it with him. I told him what is the book all about, and he saw tables, he saw equations and calculations and so on. And he said it deserved to be translated to English, and one of these big companies would probably publish it. Because it goes to, for mathematically, these books.
What's in it? I forgot to ask.
Yeah, they either publish it as in a scientific way, or they apply the engineering application. So it is either engineering or scientific. But I blend both of them.